please feel free to go ahead and type them into this Zoom chat. We'll also be monitoring the comments on Facebook as well. So if you happen to log off of here, join us on Facebook. Thank you for everybody joining us today, taking time out of your busy Sunday, perhaps, to be here. And I see that we are now linked live on Facebook. So if you're just joining us, aloha kako. And I see some names that are obviously Olelo Hawaii, and I see some that are different languages. And so perhaps you're from a different state, perhaps you're from a different country. Let us know where you're dialing in from, you're zooming in from. We'd love to see how far the love of hula, the love of Hawaii has spread around the world. We'll go ahead and give it another minute before we formally begin. And I'm just a temporary host here today. My name is Cody Pueo. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Oh, there, I hear now. I hear that. Facebook going on. Kumu Mehana's microphone. Ayala. Again, I'm Cody Pueo Pata. I'm calling in right now from Maui. It's very beautiful. For those of you who are in Hawaii today, it's a little bit muggy. It's still gorgeous, and the season has changed, and we really can't wait for basically the next change of season, which hopefully bring lots more blessings to us. You'll see that this presentation, and like the others before it, we focus on the opportunities that have been present in our lives since this most recent va, in English called a pandemic. And hopefully it's inspiring to you to find the opportunities in any place in life. Okay, I think I'd like to begin right now. It's about 3:01, and I see more people have joined us on Zoom and on Facebook. Aloha kako. My name is Cody Pueo Pata. I'm a kumu hula here on the island of Maui. I'm co-hosting today very quickly to introduce this beautiful presentation and the series that we have going for you. So on behalf of our group of kumu hula, Hua Makahikina, I extend our aloha to you. As a proactive response to a sharp increase in COVID-19 cases that were affecting the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities here in Hawaii, a hui, or a group of us kumu hula from across the Paeaina, across the archipelago, again, now called Hua Makahikina, we originally agreed to a 30-day kapu to basically help stop the spread of coronavirus. Now, this kapu is formally called a lahui Kanaka, or the lahui Kanaka. And it represents a gathering of intentions focused basically on stopping the spread of COVID-19 in Hawaii. The original kapu began for us hula practitioners on August 16th with the rising of the Mauli moon, and it continued for 3 anahulu, which are 3 traditional 10-day periods until the next Mauli moon on September 14th. But during that time, the Lahui Kanaka was adapted by Hua Makahikina, by our group, for implementation by the public. And the public was then invited to join us for the next malama, the next period of 30 days. The ultimate goal, of course, of this Lahui Kanaka is to maintain and improve the sanctity of the Mauliola of those within our palama. So I just mentioned a few terms for you: Lahui, Kanaka, Mauliola, and Palama. If you'd like to learn more about those things, please feel free to visit the original 3 presentations that we did. That's called the Ho'okahua series, and they can be found on the social media platforms of Akana and of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And in that, that was our introduction from the hula realm into the lehu realm, or the public realm. This newest series that you're joining us for is called Ho'eu, Ho'ulu, and Ho'ola. Ho'eu, Ho'ulu, Ho'ola. We didn't provide an English translation for that because we want people to kind of feel the concept of the words. But for those of you who don't speak Hawaiian, basically it kind of means incite, inspire, invigorate. We've already done a few presentations. They were the wonders of Uala, Nānai Ke Kumu, We just did this past week Aloha Kaunaoa, and coming up this Wednesday, we'll be presenting on the adaptations that hula practitioners have been making to ensure continuity in our practice. And then the following week, we'll be presenting about food and exercise. But today we'll be having Kumu Hula Le Momi Akana. And so at this time, once again, on behalf of Hua Makahikina, welcome. I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, the hostess of Kumu Hula, Mehano Kalahai.
Mahalo, mahalo nui puel. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction to Lahui Kanaka. Yeah, it's so important that our viewers out there who are taking part in watching all of this programming really kind of understand that the impetus for our gathering, right? So important to gather together around this, right? And we're evolving, right? So there'll be more coming out of this group shortly. So stay tuned for all of that. But today we have Kumu Hula, Colette. Yeah, even though I don't know, maybe it's her high school friends who call her that. Yeah, because we all know her as Kumule Momi Akana. Yeah, she's a descendant of the Paki lineage of Maui. Yeah, she also has uniki as a kumu under Ed Kalahiki, Kumu Hula Ed Kalahiki, who is a graduate of Maiki Ayu Lake. And she also carries on the hula traditions of Hoakale Kamau, George Holokai, and Kimo Alama Keolana. Now, Kumu Akana's halau hula or Namomi Makamai, is based in He'eia, Oahu. Yeah, and she has taught Hawaiian studies at Kamehameha schools for 37 years. So guarantee, get some of you who are out there, yeah, that were at Kamehameha at the time that Kumu Akana was there when you were there, and I think you're still there, yeah. I think she's still up at my kai. And she's the author. This is the part that's so exciting to me because I think I was introduced to her books and I didn't even realize that, oh yes, I know this person, right? I know this person when these books came to me. And those two books that she's the author of are The Oahu Exploits of Kamapua'a, the Hawaiian pig god, and Hanau Ka'ua, Hawaiian rain names, which her and her daughter Kiele worked on so diligently and has become one of the mainstay resources, the go-to resources for many akumuhula, right? Many ahakumele out there, and many young people too who are discovering, old and young actually, discovering the mana of their onehanau, yeah, the places that they come from. Yeah, so those are two pivotal publications that are out there. If you don't have either of those books, I would highly recommend it. Yeah, and the Kamapua'a book I love, love, love. And just talking, and maybe it's because I'm from Oahu. Yeah, I'm very Oahu centric at times, and Kamapua'a is from us, here on Oahu. And I know that's fighting words for all the other Mokupuri too, but yes, we're gonna claim him, right? And again, Hanau Ka'ua. So without further ado, mahalo again, Puel, for jumping in and laying out the foundation for Lahui Kanaka, and we're gonna turn it over to Kumu Hula Le Momi Akana. Aloha Kumu.
Aloha kako, e ka po'e hula, mai Hawaii nui a Keawe, a hiki I ni'ihau o ka kalelani. And I want to mention, Mehana, since you're talking about Kamapua'a, that there's a third section that has not been published yet, and that's Kamapua'a traveling to the island of Kauai. But in the near future, we hope to get all three parts of that very long legend.
And sorry, I just wanted to jump back in because when you talk about the sections, right? I know that this resulted out of a great collaboration when you guys were. Was it when you guys were students yourself in Kumulili Kala Kame'ele Hiva at the university? Yeah. So
yeah, we were students, Haumana, of Jean Chorlot, and he offered this class on the Kamapua'a literature. The very first day I'm sitting in class and he comes up to me, he knew me from before, and he said, oh, Momi, would you like to translate a portion of this long Kamapua legend? And I immediately said yes, not knowing what I was getting into. So anyway, so he gave Lilikala the first section where Kamapua is born, and he roams around Hawaii Island. He gave me the middle section. Kamapua is on Oahu, and he gave Keope Raymond the last section where Kamapua is on Kauai. Yeah.
So awesome, and three very profound teachers, right? You got Lili Kalaka, Meʻe Hiva, leading the charge up at the University of Hawaii. Still to this day, yourself, both in Halau and also up at Kamehameha schools, and then of course Kumu Kiope, who's on the island of Maui at Maui College, right, and having great influence over there. Oh, I look forward to that. That's going to be a whole panel all by itself. But let us let you get to the woman of the hour, Pele, Pele, and all the greatness that comes from that epic.
Okay, here we go. And I'm going to share my screen and play from, there we go, Moʻoku, ʻauhau, Meʻe, and Mele. All right, first off, learn something new to keep your mind active during this unprecedented time. Yeah, that's my main goal today. Yeah. Did you want to learn Hawaiian language? Well, to me, this is really essential. If you're dancing hula, you got to know what you're chanting about. You got to know what you're dancing about. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities for someone to take Olela Hawaii classes, like at the university, at community colleges. Here's a neat website, Kanaka, Get Started. Yeah, I checked it out. And they have resources, where they mention resources that you can learn Hawaiian either for free or you have to pay a fee. Yeah. I teach at Kamehameha, and our 7th and 8th graders have to take Hawaiian language, which I'm so happy about. It's mandatory. Okay, now if you're interested in Hawaiian culture webinars, I would highly suggest, again, kanaeokana.net/schedule. I tell you, I spent the summer watching all these terrific webinars, and they are still continuing today. And if you missed one, they're archived. So check it out. Okay, so in my title, I have Moʻoku ʻauhau, and it's made up of 2 words. Mo'o is succession, series, and ku ʻauhau is genealogy, pedigree. You put the 2 together, you have Moʻoku ʻauhau, which is genealogical succession and pedigree. Okay, so my first question to all of you is, why is it important? Why is it important to know your Moʻoku ʻauhau hula or your hula genealogy? And I'm going to ask Mehana to share with us what is said on the chat, because I can't see the chat. But this is your question, okay? Why is it important to know your hula genealogy?
Okay, we're going to just let people kind of think about that question just for a little bit. And then as soon as you have an answer, old dear friends out there, please paste them in the chat and I will go ahead and read them out.
Okay, I'm going to continue and then you let me know, okay, if you see something. So I asked my daughter, what do you think? What's your answer? And this is her answer. It's your identity. Okay. Well, to me, a Moʻoku ʻauhau hula is as important as my Moʻoku ʻauhau ʻohana. So my hula genealogy is as important as my ʻohana, my family genealogy. Okay. A hula lineage speaks to who you are, yeah, and who your ancestral kumu are, and what style you were trained in. Okay. It indicates passing wisdom from generation to generation and perpetuation of ancient protocols and traditions. And it speaks to authenticity. Okay, for me, it's imperative to teach hula kahiko exactly how I learned it from my kumu to keep the hula pure. I don't make any changes, yeah? No changes to hula kahiko. Okay, so I'm gonna share with you my mo'oku ʻauhau, starting with my very first kumu, Ku'ulei Clark. I think I was about 6 years old when I started hula, and she taught at Aiea Recreation Center. She taught hapa haole hula, okay? But she also had a halau. She invited my sister to come and dance in the halau. She didn't ask me. And that's because I was a rascal, yeah? I played around, I wasn't serious about hula. Then later, when I went to Kamehameha schools, I took hula from two kumu, Auntie Nona Beamer and Robert Casimiro. So Auntie Nona comes from a hula family, hula ʻohana. She attended Kamehameha as a teenager. Now, at the time, Kamehameha didn't allow haumana students to do hula standing up. They could only do hula noho, sitting down hula, yeah? Well, at one event, she started to sing and she started to move a bit, gesturing with her hands. Well, that was considered hula to the others, yeah, those in charge. So they actually kicked her out. She got kicked out of Kamehameha. But later, Kamehameha reconsidered and they brought her back in and she graduated. And in her adult life, she taught hula at Kamehameha schools. You know, Auntie Nona was a very gentle person and she always made us feel so special. And I got a chance today to teach you one of her hula. It's a hula for Tutu Pele. So that is a bit later in this program. The other kumu, it was Robert Casimiro, and he was so much fun. I just love his sense of humor. We had a lot of fun learning hula from him. Well, he said that his kumu was Maiki Ayu. And so when I graduated from Kamehameha, I joined Auntie Maiki, yeah? So she taught hula awana. I learned hula awana from her. And her halau at the time was called Hula Halau o Maiki. And it was later changed to Halau Hula o Maiki. So when I was a university haumana student, I actually composed an essay for her. And I'm going to share with you part of it. On the first day of instruction, Auntie Maiki began to unfold for us the beginnings of Hula Halau o Maiki. Everything about it and about her was steeped in tradition. There are rules to follow and words, people, and place names to be researched. I like the fact that our dance would not be a senseless movement of the body, but one based on understanding. Auntie Maiki told us there was a proper way of handling our instruments, and they should be treated with respect, as we should treat another individual as well as ourselves. If something was not done in the proper way, Auntie Maiki would say very firmly and very gently, never in a scolding way, what was acceptable in the halau. Auntie Maiki loved to share her mo'olelo, her stories, and we loved to hear them. Her voice was so olu-olu, so fluid. Her descriptions and explanations so vividly drawn before our eyes that we could not help but be inspired. In Auntie Maiki's teachings was a particular kind of mannerism which she encouraged upon us. She stressed humbleness and sincerity as part of a total way of life that is the hula. I truly value and cherish what I learned under her instruction and by her example. I will end this essay with her famous words and philosophy, hula is life. Okay, so here you can see that Auntie Maiki's mo'oku ʻauhau, she learned from Lokalia Montgomery, who learned from Kavena Pukui, and all the way up the line, yeah? Now look on the opposite side, you see Huakale Kama'u and Iolani Luahine. I did also take from Auntie Huakale. I learned hula kahiko from her, and she learned from her Auntie Iolani Luahine, who was a very famous hula dancer. I really love Auntie Huakale's style. It's simple and elegant. And when I say simple, I mean that her hand motions were very simple. It's not like a lot of the hula that you see today with a lot of hand motions. And especially with her hula, whatever you did on the right, you also have to do on the left. Now, Auntie Huakale was very ha'aha'a. She was a very humble person. She was the state hula coordinator, and she coordinated many hula workshops for the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts. When I was in her halau, there were other kumu hula that were teaching under her, such as kumu hula Hokulani Holt, who is a part of this Huamakahikina. So I learned a few hula from her. And Auntie Edith Mackenzie also was part of this group under Auntie Huakale. Then I went on to Uncle George Holokai. You see that his kumu was Tom Hiona. Uncle George also learned from Lillian Makaena, and there's an interesting story about her. She had a vast repertoire of hula, and she wanted to pass it on to someone. Well, she had a dream about a young man, and her husband had the same dream. And one night, the husband saw this young man, and so he got Lillian Makaena to come with him, and they met. It was Uncle George Holokai, yeah? And so she talked to him and asked him to be her haumana. But Uncle George said, Aole, no, because he was taking from Tom Hiona. So what Lillian Makaena did was she approached Tom Hiona, and he said, okay, as long as, you know, she could also teach him and his halau. So, you know, Uncle George was also a very ha'aha'a person, very, very humble. And in his last years, he had a kumu class. So there were kumu who came from, you know, Hawaii Island, from Maui. He had many haumana who were kumu hula. I also became his haumana, although at that time I was not a kumu, but he accepted me and he accepted others. In fact, you know, whoever came to the class, he would say, come and join us and dance hula. He was a very inviting person. And I want to thank his niece, or Uncle George's niece, Aloha McGuffey, and her husband, Mike Kalani, because they allowed me to use this picture from Uncle George. Now, when Uncle George was taken from Lillian Makaena, he could not drink alcohol, and he could not marry. Well, you know, Uncle George passed away in 2006. But next month, he's going to be honored. Yeah. December 6th, he's going to be honored with the Legacy Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony of Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, after he passed away, I went on to Himo Alama Keaolana. And he's actually my, he's my classmate from Kamehameha. And I tell you, he is a riot. You know, when he was a haumana in high school, you know, he was so fun, and still yet, he's just really, really a riot. So much fun, so much laughing in his class. Well, for him, his kumu was Adeline Lee, which you see on the right, who learned from Joseph Ilala Ole on the left. So for Kimo, he had a 3-year program, yeah? And once you finish that 3-year program, we uniki as Olapa. And then he had a one more year program for hula pahu, and we had a second uniki. Okay, so this is his Moʻoku ʻauhau. And you take a look, his major kumu, Hadiau, Adeline Lee, Winona Beamer. Winona Beamer is actually Auntie Nona, okay? And then Mrs. Kauhane. Now, if you look at Adeline Lee and then go up to kind of like the middle, you see Tom Hiona. He had many, many kumu, as you can see. Yeah. So Kimo has really a vast background in hula, and I mahalo him. Okay, so and then the last kumu, Kumu Ed Kalahiki, is on the right. His alaka'i is Kumu Kaleo Miyasato. And I just want to say a shout out to my hula sister, Kanoi, Inger Hodgefeld. I know you're watching. Aloha. So we uniki under Kumu Ed, but Kumu Ed is a graduate of Auntie Mikey in the Papa Kukui. Yeah. And Kumu Ed loved to tell mo'olelo. Yeah, just like Auntie Mikey. We could just sit there for a long time just hearing him tell stories. And Kumu Ed was a very generous person, generous with his love and generous with his ʻike, his knowledge. But unfortunately, he passed away last year. I am so happy to have his grandniece dance with me hula kealohi kalahiki. So after Auntie Mikey passed away, Kumu Ed learned from her hula sister, Sally Wood Naluai, which you see on the left. And to the right is Nana Kalama. And then Auntie Mikey is sitting or kneeling down. And in the middle is their kumu, Lokalia Montgomery. And Kumu Ed also learned from Kau'i Zunameister. So we do carry on some of her oli. Okay, well, mahalo nui, e ku'u mau kumu, mahalo for all that you have shared. I am very privileged to have been able to take classes from all of them. Today I have my own halau hula o na Momi Makamai. Now, in one of our performances, a kumu hula came up to me, and she said that she really appreciated the fact that before each hula, I mentioned and credited my kumu. And I really feel that's important because, you know, these hula didn't come up from thin air. They came from my kumu, and I always try to recognize them. Okay, the next word in our title is Me'e. Yeah, Me'e means hero, heroine, important person, or admired. So I want you to think, who is your Me'e? All the kumu hula I just shared with you, they are my Me'e. Yeah. Well, my mo'opuna, I have two of them. Well, one of them had an assignment for class, and the kumu asked them to do a presentation on their Me'e, or their hero or heroine, and she chose Tutu Pele. So who is Pele? And I'm going to throw that out again to the chat box. You know, some of you may not know who Pele is. Okay. And you know, my rest of my presentation, I will focus on her. So who is Pele? Who is Tutu Pele? Any kind of answers, Mehana, out there?
Not yet for the Pele one, but we do have for the Moʻoku ʻauhau. Why is it important? Yeah, and someone pointed to the kumulipo, right, and just that whole understanding of the the depth and breadth of Moʻoku ʻauhau, right, going all the way back to the beginning. And then also someone had commented, or this is Ruth Sunohara had commented, it will reflect on your background and where you came from and who you are today, right? So it does do that. You actually are a culmination, right, of your Moʻoku ʻauhau. Yeah, it's coming forward. Yeah.
Mahalo, that was awesome. Mahalo. That, oh, perfect. Yeah. And so it's so important to us. And the kumulipo as well. I teach about the kumulipo. I always start my Papua Pili Kanaka, my social studies class, Hawaiian studies. I always start off with the kumulipo, yeah, because that is about, you know, the birth of the world, the birth of plants and animals, and finally us humans, yeah. Okay, who is Tutu Pele? Okay, I'm gonna continue. Well, Basically, she's a volcano goddess. She lives in Kilauea on Hawaii Island. She dug craters at Diamond Head, Punch Bowl, Coco Crater, Salt Lake on Oahu, and Haleakala on Maui, and many other craters. Okay, so Moʻoku ʻauhau ʻohana, yeah? Knowing your past may help you to know yourself. And I'm going to talk about this because it pertains to Tutu Pele. Moʻoku ʻauhau ʻohana is your family genealogy. Now, in ancient times, it was extremely important for the ali'i to have their moʻoku ʻauhau because that was proof that they had royal blood. But today, it's still important, yeah? If you don't have your moʻoku ʻauhau, maybe it's time to start putting it together, yeah? I know when I started to gather information about my ʻohana, one of my relatives said that I was niele, and that means nosy. So I went to another relative, my grand aunt, and she shared a lot of information, and she also shared nice pictures of my ʻohana. So if one door closes, knock on the next door because don't give up, yeah? Who knows, you might be related to a close friend of yours, or you may even be related to a coworker. Okay, so knowing your past may help you to know yourself. And Kumu Ed would always tell us, call out the names of our kupuna. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do right now. My great-great-grandmother was named Kalua Mohai o Pele, which means the sacrificial pit of Pele. Her daughter, who's my great-grandmother, was named Keahilani, which means the heavenly fires. My grandmother was, her name is Rosalie Alina Paki, and she married Robert Akuili. Now, her uncle was named Jack Kamoho Ali'i, and Kamoho Ali'i is also the name of Tutu Pele's brother, who's a shark god. So you can see there's 3 names here in my ʻohana, in my moʻoku ʻauhau, that are associated with Tutu Pele. Here's a painting that Dietrich Verres sent me. I love his colored paintings. And you see Tutu Pele with Kamoho Ali'i, and they're going from Kahiki and coming to Hawaii, yeah? So Kamoho Ali'i, the shark god, he lived upon a cliff on the northern edge overlooking the crater. It was so sacred that Tutu Pele dare not blow smoke across of it. So Kumu Ed said to call out the names of our kupuna, but I also want to add to remember where they are laid to rest, okay? I heard that after 3 generations, people forget the burial sites, yeah? For our halau, you know, if someone is on their way to Uniki, we always go and visit the ancestral graves, the graves of our ancestral kumu, such as Auntie Mikey and Ho'ulu Canberra. And we also go and visit our ali'i at Mauna Ala. Okay, so my great-great-grandmother, Kalua Mohai o Pele, is buried in Hana, Maui, in the Ho'opai Cemetery. And by chance, I met Kaunoa Ho'opai at a Maui conference. So he's from that ʻohana. And so he said that when we're in Hana, he's going to take us to the cemetery so we can visit the gravesite. Then my great-grandmother, Keahilani, is buried in a cemetery in Lahaina at a Catholic church. Okay, right now in Lahaina, there's a big controversy going on at a place called Ka'ua'ula. And I learned all about it just a couple of nights ago by watching channel 53, the Olelo channel. A group called Kukia'i Ka'ua'ula are trying to protect iwi kupuna, bones of ancestors. A developer is bulldozing the area and laying a large pipeline. The kia'i, led by Ke'eaumoku Kapu, confronted the construction workers, who then called the police. Ke'eaumoku showed the police all of his paperwork, and one woman knew all the laws. I was so impressed with her. And the police left, and it was not determined who was the rightful owner of that land. Okay, so they're trying to protect the iwi kupuna, yeah? And it's an ongoing battle. It's not going to stop because this developer is going to continue. So we shall see in the coming months what happens with that controversy. Okay, all right. So, oh, I'm going wrong way. Huh, no wonder. Okay, so, so when halau go and visit Tutu Pele, some of them take ho'okupu, and the ho'okupu can be in the form of a pu'olo, like I have a pu'olo in my hand. In our tradition, we always have things in the pu'olo that come from three places: the kai, which is the ocean; the aina, which is the land; and uka, the upland. But what happens if you don't have a pu'olo or anything tangible? What can you offer Tutu Pele as to show ho'ihi? And my daughter is going to give an answer to this oli.
Aloha na haleo maku I ka makamaka ole. O ke ala hele mauka o huli wale lae huli wale. Ke huli wale a ene no I ka makamaka ole ka mohai ole I ke aku ai. E ka nai nai aku I la ia o e. E ka wahine mai ka lua mai. Yeah, oi no way.
Okay, mahalo. So the answer is you can give a chant if you don't have a pu'olo, or if you don't have any other ho'okupu. So I'm going to share with you a hula that you can actually present at the Lua Pele, at the volcano. Okay, there's a time to use it and there's a time not to use it. Again, the appropriate use is at the Lua Pele, at the volcano, or for any formal setting. Okay, it is not appropriate to do at an informal setting, at a party, a game, or a sporting event. Okay, and the title is No Paha E Kainoa. Now you can see this chant in Unwritten Literature of Hawaii, and it's also on the Hula Preservation Society website. Yeah, according to Nathaniel Emerson, the author of Unwritten Literature, he said that it is said to be the work of a hula master, now some years dead, by the name of Namake Elua. Okay, so Auntie Nona Beamer taught this hula to Kumu Ed, and Kumu Ed taught me. Okay, so it's actually a part of the Pele trilogy. So this is the first hula, and there's two more. So this first hula I'm teaching you is a hula noho, and the other two hula are stand-up hula. Okay, and here are the words in Hawaiian. I'm going to play Auntie Nona Beamer's voice, so you get to hear her leo.
No paha e kainoa e ta I tu ana tau I tanuku e hapa hapa ai e hapa hapa ai Apai ke kihi o ki laue I laila ku ukama o ku nui ake e pele
Okay, so some of the words in the Oli, in the Mele is kai kai ku. It means to carry about everywhere. Okay, and then kainoa, e kai kai kuwana, is a name carried everywhere. Okay, all these words I got from the Hawaiian dictionary. And then hapa hapai, okay, means to glorify or praise. No paha kainoa e kai kai kuwana, pa ika nuku a hapa hapai ae. This is very similar to what's in the Mele. And it's saying, yours perhaps the name chant, carried to and fro, and that is on everyone's lips in praise. Okay, then it mentions kunui akea. Yeah, kama is a child or a person, kunui akea. The question is, who is this kunui akea? I don't know, okay, but I'll talk about it a bit in a bit. So here is actually how it's done, okay, and I will break it apart, but this is the entire hula. No paha e kai no e ka i ku anaka i ka nuku e hapa hapa ya e hapa hapa ya apa i ke kihi o ki laue i laila ku kama o kunui ake e no pele. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to teach you this hula. Okay, I'm going to move this back. Oh, okay, here we go. So you begin with your hands in the front, palms down. No paha e kai noa. And your hands go out to 45 degrees. Again, no paha e kai noa. Perhaps it's your name. E kai kai kuana is a mirror motion, yeah? To your right, palms down, up, down. Okay? Again, e kai kuana. Okay? Palms down, up, and down. And then you raise it all the way above your head. Okay? So again, let's try. E kai kuana kau ika nuku. Carrying it, the name all the way up to the top. Okay? So from the top. No paha e kai noa. E kai kuana kau ika nuku. Okay? Next, hands down. E hapa hapaya e. E hapa hapai a e. And then your hand should be chin level. Okay? You're saying glorify and praise. Yeah? Again. E hapa hapai a e. E hapa hapai a e. Good. Next. Apai ke kihi or kilauea means touching. And then it's here, it's sort of like a beckoning. Beckon, a papa ike kihi, and then you make kilauea, and notice the palms are out. Okay? Again, a pa ike kihi o kilauea. Okay? From the top, no paha. No paha e kai noa. E kai ku wana kau ika nuku. E hapa hapai a e. E hapa hapai a e. Your hands are together and by chin level, yeah? A pa ike kihi o kilauea. Okay? And then you clap. Eia ku'ukama o kunui a kea. Okay? And then, so you're sitting down, and then you go to e pele. Your hands are coming together. You're lifting up. Okay? And you're still on your knees. And the next step is, once you're on your knees, yeah. Wait. The first e pele is you're down and you're going up on your knees. You're still on your knees. The second time is you actually stand up. Okay? The third time is you bring your right foot back. And then you say, Hei noa no pele. Okay? Now, did you notice in the beginning, there's no ka here. You just begin. No pahae kai noa. Okay? So, I'm going to actually play, it's very short. I'm going to play it for you again. But I want to talk about kunui akea. Okay? Let me make sure I'm in this right. There we go. Sharing again. Okay. So kunui akea, who's that? Okay, well, there's, I know of two possibilities. One is the god Ku. Okay, kunui akea means ku of wide expanse, and he was like the national god. Okay, he was the god over all of these ku that are listed. Okay, and there's more ku. This is not like an exhaustive list. And I found this in a Hawaiian newspaper. Yeah, and you can see the date. But there's also another ku, and his name was Albert Edward Kunui Akea. He was the son of Kamehameha III and Jane Lahi Lahi. And he was a politician in the Kingdom of Hawaii and the Republic of Hawaii. Yeah. So I don't know who they're referring to in this mele. Okay. But it's possibly one of these two. Okay. All right. So my mo'opuna now will come and read for you the English translation. This is what Auntie Nona gave us. Okay. Now you find that her translation is more figurative, not literal. Okay.
Yours, perhaps, this name which people are raising with loud acclaim, now raise it on high, till it reaches the innermost recesses of Kilauea. Enshrined there is my beloved Kunui Akea, Opele, Opele, Opele.
Okay, so this is my mo'opuna who did her talk about her heroine, Tutu Pele. And okay, I'm gonna play it for it one more time. And know that this hula is appropriate for young kids. Yeah. You're gonna get to see my daughter, Kieli Gonzalez, and another one of my haumana, Nini Darase, and they're at the Lua Pele presenting this. Okay, so here we go. So again, there's a right time to. Let's try this. Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, so notice the version that Nathaniel Emerson has in his book Unwritten Literature. That's the beginning of the Mele, and there's another part that he has listed. I have seen and heard other halau do that latter part, yeah, and it goes something like this: E komoma lokoa o hale ma'u ama una pu'u e ola ola nei. E pele 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 e pele pele hua ina ku. Yeah. So it sounds very different from the beginning that I taught you. Okay, so Hawaiian gods. Okay, na kini akua. In Christianity, we believe in one God. In early Hawaiian religion, there are many gods. Kini akua. Yeah. There are gods for every occupation and every activity. The word kini means 40,000. So kini akua means countless spirits and gods, the multitudinous gods. Okay, so if you want to learn about Hawaiian gods, I would suggest you go to kumukahi.org. This is one of my favorite sites, gang. Once you're at kumukahi.org, click on videos. Yeah, you see it up at the top right. And there's just a great array of videos, not only on Hawaiian gods, but all kinds of aspects of Hawaiian culture. And these are short videos. They run from 10 minutes to 20 minutes, short videos. But I love them, and I actually share with my homana at Kamehameha, where I teach 7th grade at the Kula Vaina. Okay. Now, if you are an advanced reader of Olelo Hawaii, I would suggest Kaho'omana Kahiko. It's in Kanupepa Ku'oko'a. And it is a series of mo'olelo about various gods, yeah? This first issue, January 5th, 1865, actually I was looking for it the other day, and it's not on nupepa.org, and you cannot find it in Papakilo database, yeah? I just happen to have a copy from a friend, yeah? And in that issue, it talks about Kamoho Ali'i, yeah? So remember I told you about Kamoho Ali'i being the shark god, yeah? Eia ho'i ke kahi akua o Kamoho Ali'i, he akua, I ho'o malie moana keia. Oh, I can't actually see the rest of this. I ka wā ake ali'i a Kamehameha nui I mana'o ai e hele I ka moana o ale nui haha a me pailolo a me ke kai ho'i o ie waho. A leila hana mua kona kahuna. Ka iwi kua mo'o ho'i o kana ho'o mana. A pono. Hele ke ali'i me ka lanakila, me ka loa'a ole ho'i o na pilikia ma ka moana. A pai ola aku I kana vahi I make ai e hele. So what it's actually saying is that Kamehameha's kahuna, they would pray to Kamoho Ali'i so that the ocean will be calm as he's traveling over the ocean. Okay, so, again, there are other articles in that Kahomana Kahiko series. Helu Elua is about Kane, Helu Ekolu, Kane Loa, Helu Eha about Ku, Helu Elima and Eona is about Tutu Pele, okay? And then notice on December 16, 1865, there's one on hula. And then ancient sports and hoku. Now, I'm not sure if it goes beyond Helu 33, but you can check that out. Okay, I wanted a picture about Hawaiian culture or ancient Hawaiian culture. And so I was thinking, what can I do here? And I thought about the petroglyph drawings that I have, or the petroglyph rubbings that I have, yeah? So petroglyph is ki'i pohaku, or rock carvings, yeah? there are cultural treasures. And our kupuna would go and they would cut into the pohaku, the pahoehoi lava, and they would draw things like the human forms, canoes, feather capes, surfers, turtles. Yeah. So in the early 1970s, I went to Waikoloa on Hawaii Island, and I went and did petroglyph rubbings. The oldest ki'ipohaku there is dated at 840 AD. Okay, so what I did is I took muslin and I took brown crayons. Yeah, and I used only those two items because I didn't want to damage. I didn't want to damage the ki'ipohaku. Yeah. Now 10 years later, yeah, thousands of ki'ipohaku were destroyed to build hotels and golf courses. Mina mina loa, yeah, that are Hawaiian treasures gone. But there are places that you can see petroglyphs that remain, and that's at Waikoloa Petroglyph Reserve and Puako Petroglyph Archaeological Preserve, and they're protected. Okay, when you go, do not do rubbings like how I did. Okay, and don't step on them because it's strictly forbidden. Just enjoy what you see. Okay. All right. So if you want to learn about Hawaiian gods, you can also go to see what David Malo has written. Yeah. And he's written a lot about various aspects of Hawaiian culture. So David Malo was born in 1795. He lived 25 years before the Christian missionaries came to Hawaii. So he lived under the kapu system. He was an early Hawaiian scholar, and he wrote a manuscript called Kamo'olela Hawaii, and it was translated by Nathaniel Emerson. You look on the right, it says David Malo, Hawaiian Antiquities. A lot of you have that book, yeah? I've had that book for many years. In 1980, I started to look at his original writings in Hawaiian and compared it to what Emerson translated in English. And I found that sometimes Emerson didn't translate a sentence, or sometimes he mistranslated a sentence, yeah? So it's always important to go back to the original Hawaiian. Now we are very fortunate today because a new translation is out, and it's by Charles Langlis and Jeffrey Kapali Lyon, okay? And it's just awesome, okay? If you are a Kumu hula, or if you are a serious student of Kava Kahiko, the ancient times, you definitely want to get this book, okay? It's actually in 2 volumes. The first volume has images of the Hawaiian manuscript, the Carter manuscript. And what you're looking at here is volume two. And this one has the Hawaiian and English side by side. And the Hawaiian has the diacritical marks with the okina and kahako. So again, this is really, this new translation is just fabulous. I highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so what does Malo say? So my daughter's going to read the Hawaiian part. Here we go.
He mea ho'omana ia I ke akua, ka lapa'au ana I ka po'e ma'i. I nā e ma'i kekahi Kanaka, e hele no kekahi I ke kahuna lapa'au, a me ka lawe pū aku I ka ālana na ma'iola, ke akua lapa'au.
Treatment of the sick involved a religious service to a god. If a person became sick, someone would go to the kahuna lapa'au, medical expert, taking with him an offering for ma'iola, the god of healing. Okay, so there's one god, but there's many more, yeah? Okay, so this legend of Hiʻiakaikapoliopele, she was the youngest sister of Tutu Pele, okay? Now, Hiʻiaka was a goddess of healing and hula, okay? There's a very, very long legend that appeared in the Hawaiian newspaper, Kana'i Aupuni, and it was penned by Ho'oulu Mahiehie. Puakea Nogomeyer translated it. He's my hula brother from Uncle George Holokai. and he asked me to edit the Hawaiian version. Okay, so there's actually two books, one in Hawaiian and one in English. So in this mo'olelo, Hiʻiaka goes to Kauai to fetch Pele's boyfriend, Lohiʻau. She found him dead, okay? But with her powers, she was able to restore him to life. And one of her forms is a pala'a fern, which is used to treat illnesses or diseases. In one part of this legend, Hiʻiaka is on Maui eating in a halau hula with a kumu hula. Okay, and the kumu hula and his haumana, his students. Hiʻiaka recited this oli, which I'm going to show it to you, after the sacrificial offering was placed on the kuahu, the hula altar. Then after everyone had finished eating, she stood up and said, "Listen, all of you should remember the chanted words that I presented to you. Sustenance and well-being are contained in that bit of chant." Okay. Now she says, "E uhawa e au I pule ho'oulu." Okay, you notice the word ho'oulu, yeah? That is part of our title for the empowerment series, Ho'eu, Ho'ulu, Ho'ola, okay? And it means what I just said is, I shall offer a prayer for inspiration. So Puakia translated ho'oulu in this case as inspiration, okay? So I'm going to have my daughter, well, I'm going to read the Hawaiian, and then my daughter can do the translation later, okay? Huliaku ke alo ke akua. Heio mana ke kupua. Manu'u kawae kai luna. Lalai ka vai ho mai. Hiki mai na hua momona. Ke ki'o vaiola a kane. Ki'o vai na na'a a kana loa. Na kupua kaulana o luna. Na laua e kaupale I na ino. Lana kila ka noho ana I ke ao. Pi'ia e kala I ke alo. Pu'ili iho o kou a mālama. Na hina no I ulu mai. Hina puku ia, puku vai vai. Ho'opu ia iho ma ke alo. A iho a kahela ae. Na laka I ka lau ie. Ku ka maile I ka la nui. Ai mai nei o ku pulu pulu. O lau ka ie I ka uka. Na hina mele lani I ke ao. Molia I ka pu'u vai vai. I ke ola ka pua ane ane. E mana ke akua. Ola ke Kanaka. Ola no a ola loa no e.
One turns to face the deity, powerful heiau for the supernatural one. Soaring vastness is there above, shining with waters to be granted. The sweet fruits arrive. Kane's pool of living water, the burgeoning pool of Kanaloa, those renowned supernaturals from above, the two who protect against evil. That life in the world be victorious. The sun ascends before you. Embrace it, all of you, and care for it. Through Hina, you shall be inspired. Hina, who provides fish, provides wealth. Heaped there before you, consume and lie back to repose. It is by laka of the ʻie leaf that the Mele vine stands forth in the bright sun. Pu'upulupulu offers his ascent, and Lauka ʻie in the highlands. It is Hina Melelani in the light of day, who makes offerings of abundant wealth, for life that extends to grand old age. May the gods be powerful. May mankind thrive, live indeed, and long.
Okay, so Hawaiian gods of healing and health, we know Ma'iola and we know Hiʻiaka. And in this oli, we learned about others, yeah? Kane, yeah? Vaiola a kane, living waters of kane. Okay, of course, water is so essential. We cannot live without water, yeah? So Kane was the god of sunlight, fresh water, and forest. Kanaloa, he was one of the four great gods, besides Ku, Kane, and Lono. He was a constant companion of Kane, and both of them found many places with water, yeah, a lot of springs. Emerson gives a healing prayer to Kanaloa, which was recited by a kahuna over a sick man. Okay. All right, then there's Hina. When gathering medicine with their left hands, people pray to Hina for success. There's Hina pukuʻia, which means Hina gathering seafood, and Hina Mele, Hina of the heavenly song. Laka, I know a lot of you have heard of Laka and know of Laka. She's a goddess of hula and forest plants, and such as the Mele and ʻie. Kupulupulu is a god of forest and canoe makers. Okay, and you notice that a lot of these gods are gods of forest. And think about it. It's the medicinal plants come from the forest. Okay, lauka ʻie means ʻie leaf, and this deity was associated with the forest. Her companions were the spirits of the plants and animals of the forest. Okay, Mele. That's also part of my title. Mele is song or chant of any kind, a poem or poetry. Haku Mele means a composer, poet, to compose a song or chant. Both my daughter and I enjoy Haku Mele. Yeah, I compose Mele for people and for places. And my most recent one was for Mauna Kea, for the Kia'i. And a few years ago, there was a group of us from our Kamehameha Middle School who had the opportunity to go to Mauna Kea. Yeah, and Aina Asing and I were able to share this mele that I'm going to show you. We were able to share it up at Pu'uhuluhulu University. And also that year, I was able to teach all the 7th graders the mele and the hula. Okay, so one of the mele I composed was in 2011. There was a global epidemic, like what we are experiencing today with the coronavirus. In that year, 34 million people were living with AIDS. 1.8 million people died from the virus that year. My cousin also passed away from AIDS. In times like this, people contribute in different ways, like donating money, food, medicine, and time. I decided to haku mele, to compose a mele, to uplift the spirits of those suffering with AIDS. My hula brother and sister had their halau perform this hula at a couple of churches in Honolulu on AIDS Day. I am sharing this mele as it is applicable today with so many who have been inflicted with its devastating impact of the virus. Another of my cousins contracted COVID-19. She went next door to help an elderly neighbor who had fallen. In the rush to lend help, she forgot to wear her mask and caught the virus from him. She went to emergency 3 times and still has trouble breathing. Okay, so my daughter will read the Hawaiian to this mele I composed.
E ku'u hoa, e ku'u aloha, he lei vehi oe no ka lāhui, no ke kai malino, e ho'oma'u mai I kou nui kinoe.
Okay. Oh, my friend, my companion, my beloved, you are a lei of adornment for our human race. For you is the sea, the calm sea, that refreshes your entire body. Yeah, and the word hoa can either mean friend or it can mean companion. Did you read 2? Okay, continue on.
E ku'u hoa, e ku'u aloha, he puna wei kahe wale ko aloha, no ouka ka aina makua, e hanui na pua nono I ka la e.
Oh, my companion, my beloved, your love is a spring that flows freely. The uplands, the fatherland is for you, to smell the blossoms bright in the sunlight. So I have my daughter doing these first two verses.
Ai
e ku'uhoa e ku'ualoha.
Oh, okay. Gonna go to the next slide. Wait a minute.
Ai e ku'uhoa.
Hold on. Okay. All right, so that was the first two verses. Here's the next two verses. Okay.
E ku'uhoa e ku'ualoha. He pu'u e aloha kau I ka wekiu. No ka lani me nā manu. I ka pāhea ka makani e.
Oh, my friend, my love, my beloved, a loving heart placed on high. For you is the sky, yeah. Wait, the sky with birds is for you, and the gentle blowing of the wind.
E ku'uhoa e ku'ualoha. Eia mai ka pōhai Kanaka. Hili na I kia kua. Nāna e kālele. I kaika ko mana'o me ka uhane e.
Oh, my companion, my beloved, here's your circle of friends. Have faith in God, for he will support you and give you strength of mind and spirit.
E piri na pumi ka ime oe.
Blessings be with you. No, start right here. Start there.
Oh,
Yeah, start from the beginning, please. Wait. Yeah, there you go.
E pili na po mai ka ime oi.
And that was Casey Nalani Lam Peterson. Mahalo. Okay, and the chanter is Lehua Matsuoka, a good friend of mine. She comes from the island of Lanai. I thought I mentioned that because there are not too many kumuhula there. Elaine Kaopu Iki, Uniki, two people, and Lehua was one of those two. Mahalo lehua. Okay, so yeah, I enjoyed haku mele, and maybe this is a time I can encourage some of you to haku mele, to compose a mele, or even journal, just to keep your mind active. Yeah. So one of our members of Hua Makahikina is Rini Ai Bello, and her haumana made these posters that I really liked. And one of them said, keeping your brain active is essential to life. Doing morning puzzles, reading, and simply keeping a journal of new things that you learn helps keep the brain in check and in constant motion. Something as little as this can go a long way. A good way to keep the mind thriving is to constantly be aware of your surroundings and taking mental note of things you learn. Compose a mele or journal to keep track of how you feel about things you might enjoy and things you might not. Okay, and I want to share with you this olelo no eo, umeke ka eo, a well-filled calabash, a well-filled mind. So in malama, take care, yeah. Try to protect yourself, protect your ʻohana, your community, by doing 3 simple things: wearing a mask, distance 6 feet, and washing hands. And I just want to say mahalo, mahalo, and aloha. We will adapt and find ways to stay whole. Lives change, but we will survive and thrive by taking care of each other and connecting across generations and distances. Mahalo, everyone, for being here on this webinar. Aloha.
Aloha, Kumu Akana. Mahalo nui for that presentation. Yeah, everyone, mahalo, and mahalo to all of our participants who are out there. You know, just like to say that this is our 1, 2, 3, 4th one thus far for Hui Makahikina in this this series, the Empowerment series, the Ho'ulu Ho'ola series that we have here. And we have actually one more, and I'm going to try and share my screen here. We have one more coming up this week. Yeah, so we have the next presentation that we will have coming up is Pokane this Wednesday, November 11th, which is a holiday for everyone. This is, I think it's Veterans Day, on that day. So this one will be at 10 a.m. in the morning, for all of us. So since it's a holiday, before you gotta go go do your, do the things that you like to do, or just nanea, right? Nanea at home. Check us out. Come back here at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs webpage, Facebook page, excuse me, or join us on Zoom at webinar at oha.org/webinar for this presentation by 3 of the kumu hula out of the 4 that you see here are from the island of Maui. And the 4th one, Kumula Wa'e, is from here on Oahu. But we had a really interesting conversation when we started to do our work to malama, our Kanaka, our people during the time of COVID, right? And try and be encouraging and impactful and providing a cultural route to Mauliola, taking care of our bodies and our minds and our souls and spirits. Yeah. One of the conversations we got in is how exactly do we do this? Like, how do we transmit hula and the ʻike of hula to everyone during this time when we're supposed to be at home, right? And so these kumu hula got together to share some of that, what some of the things that they're doing. Yeah. So kumu henohea kane. Recently, Uniki Kumuhula Henohea was so aloha her, and her Kumuhula Kedi Rachel. But she brought it up in a meeting. She was just like, we've had to discover other ways. And yes, most Kumuhula have jumped onto Zoom, right? They've done Google Classroom. Zoom, WebEx, trying all kind of different mediums, YouTube, right, in order to help share their papa hula, their ʻike, with their haumana. But it can go beyond that too. And so when we had this conversation, it was like, oh, this is a perfect workshop that should be happening, because I know that there's other kumu out there who still may not have found their or other tools, yeah. And so these kumu are committed to helping, you find some more tools, add to your toolbox of how it is that you share hula, but not only hula, right? These options that they're going to be sharing, these insights into how it is that we can be share more opportunities with our haumana can apply to any of the cultural practices. Yeah. So join us this Wednesday, November 11th at 10 a.m. in the morning, and join Kumu Hula, Henohea Kane, Hala Moku, Puel, and Lawae. Yeah, for this. I can't wait for this one because although I do know some tech, I love the ideas that they were sharing. Some of which, I didn't even think of, back then. So, yeah, and Kumu Le Momi, mahalo nui again for your presentation and bringing us into your home today. And mahalo your daughter and your granddaughter for participating in the workshop too. See, it's a ʻohana thing, right? Get everybody involved. And yeah, we look forward to what is your next. Are you coming out with anything soon? Any other publications soon? Kumule Momi?
Oh, I've been working on Hanau Kamakani, which is Hawaiian wind.
Ah.
And I tell you, it's over 1,000 pages long. But you know what? Yeah. Oh my! I just getting chilled because there's so much juicy information. Um, and we're in the editing process right now. And I'm trying not to collect anymore. It's just too huge. But Puel Pata, we interviewed him, and he's given some information about Hawaiian wind names on the island of Maui. But we use a lot of the sources from Nupepa. So that's what I'm working on. And
My ka'i.
yes,
That's gonna be such a great resource. When I was a college student at UH, we had like a version of those of the rain names and the wind names, and those resulted out of Kumu Puakea Nogomeyer's class that he taught about Mele, in which every student had to pick a topic and then look through the dictionary for every word that was associated with that topic. So rain was one, wind was another, love was another, like, and when you have to go through each single page of the dictionary and pull those things together, and then when the students would compile them, we try and how should I say, bribe them, to to share their books with us, right? So awesome. That's going to be such a wealth of information again to help people understand their aina.
yeah, I can't wait to share that. And everybody has, every ahupua has a wind name, at least one, but usually more than one. So yep,
Yeah.
that's what I'm busy working on.
My kai.
What's interesting is that Kamapua a legend. Um, so I had translated it in at a university, when I was taking a university class, and Lily Kala came out with her book, right, the first one. And every time I saw her, she goes, "Oh, Mommy, when are you gonna publish yours?" Yeah, she kept on saying she kept on, saying that.
I remember I was with her a few times when she told you that. Yeah, I remember.
Happened is I got injured playing volleyball, so I had to stay home. So I thought to myself, what do I do home? I cannot do anything. So that's when I really, put the gas on that legend, and just like we have to stay home, nowadays. So I made myself busy by finishing up and cleaning up that translation, and then it was published. And even now, being a lot of my time is home, is I can spend a little bit more time now on the Hanau Kamakani. So
Awesome, awesome.
when even if we have to stay home, there's things we can do. Yeah. So remember, one door, you knock on one door, doesn't open well, there's another door. Yeah. Keep yourself
So
busy.
look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great advice, while we're home.
Yeah.
Are you haku mele out there? Are you haku mo'olelo? Are you guys who are in some phase of publishing something for the Lahui? Get to going, with it.
When you hakumele, it doesn't have to be for publishing. Maybe it's just for you, or maybe it's just for your ohana. Okay. And remember, when you hakumele, it doesn't have to be always something happy. You can record what's happening. There's happiness, there's sadness. All that can be shown in your mele if that's what you want to do.
One of my favorite mele that was haku in this era, right, in this time era, it's a mele kuamuamu by my teacher Kainani Kahonele, right? And so that's the opposite of happy necessarily, right? It's a very passionate, I don't know how.
Oh, your sound is off.
Yeah, I don't know what other types of English words would be good to describe a mele kuamuamu, but it really taught me that when you haku, you whatever it is, right? Yeah, it doesn't have to just be a love song, or it can be a love song like that, right? One for the aina. But yeah, awesome stuff. Well, we can't wait for that, Kumu Momi, for that to come out. Again, mahalo nui for all of this, and mahalo nui to all of you who are out there still yet with us in Zoomland and on Facebook. Remember, come back here 10 a.m. on Wednesday. It's a Pokane, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time learning about new ways and new things and new innovations on how it is that we teach during this time. Yeah, so. Ahui ho kako malama pono. Malama your palama. Yeah, aloha hui ho.
Aloha.